everybody, we're back today. I'm having a hangout with my friend Gary. Hello, Gary.
Hello, my darling Karen Light, and it's been a long, long time, hasn't it? I
It
mean,
has, Gary, it has.
it's got to be a matter of months, like, I know 'cause you're doing a lot of stuff with Mickey and one thing and another, but I thought it was time for me to do one because this is a very important subject, actually, and I think a lot of people will concur with this, actually, once I start getting into it. I'm not just doing this, like, but what the main subject. I'll be doing some other stuff as well. I've got a few things written down, but right.
Cool. And
So
we've got
go straight into
Agent
it, shall
Smith.
I?
We've got Agent Smith up on the screen. That's one of Gary's
Well,
pictures.
I'll give you a little
It's
parable.
not the Beast
About 2 weeks
Matrix,
ago.
is it, Gary? The Beast Matrix.
Yes, that's right. Is it the Matrix, Mr. Smith? Well, synchronicity is happening in my life, and about 2 weeks ago, I went round my sister's. I told you I do. Like every couple of weeks, I go round for dinner and whatever. And we were talking about all the people that are passed in our family, which is quite considerable, you know. And we're saying about this person, that person. She said to me, "Did you go to Uncle Joe's funeral?" I said, "No." So she was relaying this story about how I knew he was a Second World War hero, but what we didn't know was that he was also a secret agent, because there was my brother-in-law and my stepfather, who's passed away now, went. So it's before 2010, whatever happens. And anyway, there was people, there was French resistance there, which
This is why he was an agent, Gary, because nobody knew.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Karen, that makes perfect sense from the Second World War, because I know he was like he was a highly decorated Second World War, commando or whatever, like, but he was actually Polish, like, and he was in the Polish army. But they didn't realise none of us realised the gravity of this man, because also at his funeral was Polish Secret Service and British Secret Service as well, and they all got up and done their little bit, like you do your eulogy, like I've done at my mum's and my mate Ray's and whatever. And you know, my brother-in-law and my stepfather was like gobsmacked, saying, "Well, we didn't know nothing about that." I mean, now his wife has passed away now, my auntie, so he was my uncle through marriage. But none of us lot knew this. He was an agent. He was an agent till the day he died. And I mean, I didn't even know this. I mean, my sister told me this a couple of weeks ago, and I found it very strange. But you know, it got me thinking. Now, a few people in our community, they've been doing a little bit of digging, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I've had my suspicions for a long time. Have we got people in our community similar that are a replacement, because they can even fall like their other half? Now, you know, I'm not mentioning any names, because, you know, I don't want you to get into any trouble or myself into any trouble, but there's people in our community that, like, Mandela effect deniers, like reality changing deniers. Now, there's a few reasons for this. Now, one, they're either like their cognitive dissonance is kicking in. Yes, I mean, the thing is, they wasn't that way, like with the shape of the earth. I've got to be careful what I say. The shape of the earth and stuff like that. They wasn't like with all the other stuff we've looked at. But for some strange reason, they seem to be with this. This reality, I hate that word, like I don't call it Mandela effect, like reality changing or whatever, and I've looked at enough evidence, and my good mate, like Mark, you know, from System Failure, like my Irish friend, he was in it long before I started investigating it. And I used to see him down Hyde Park, like, you know, he used to tell me he specialised in the Mandela effect, and I realise why now. Now, I've got a theory about this. I'm wondering if very early on, in all the different in all our truth community, there was people put in place. Now, they've infiltrated the TV and all forms of media, we know that. It's not going to be no different, Karen, on YouTube or any other platform. They're going to put people in place. Now, I've got a theory about this, and the theory is to keep us locked in a box. So basically, you can have this, you can have that, you can have the other, you can have the last thing, even the last couple of years. But for some strange reason, with this, they don't seem to like. It's like they're keeping you away from it, because now listen, I'm not saying everyone that just sort of investigates the shape of the Earth like is an agent, but I do think some people have been put into place to keep your spiritual awakening at a certain level. Excuse the pun. To keep
because
it
you're
at a
always
certain
relying
level,
on you're relying on the agent to tell you things. That's what it is.
Yes, exactly. And then not to find out about how powerful you actually are. And there's a lot of people in the truth community that are ex-military. Now, you've got to be very, very suspicious. Anyone who's ex-military, like, look at my uncle. You know, I mean, I can say what I want now because he's been dead for donkey's years. But my point is, I'm always very suspicious about anyone in our community that's got an ex-military background, because even my dad was in the military. You know, he was like, that's probably where he met my uncle, like, you know, in the Second World War. I don't really know, because he's been dead since like 1974.
You're not really talking about small channels, are you? You're talking about the bigger channels, the people that have been...
Exactly. We spoke about this before. I'm talking about the very, very, very big channels, which, you know, I don't have to sort of like mention any names because all the people know them.
Don't mention the names,
and they stick to one genre. It's like they're allowed to do this, they're allowed to do that. Don't go anywhere near this subject, for the simple reason we don't want these people knowing about that, because it's increasing our sort of like frequency and vibration even more, and you get enough people on that level, you know, then our power like is extraordinary. And I actually think like some of the effects that we see, we're probably the cause for. Now I'll give you I'll give you one little example here. I always, you know, I read the paper. I know I shouldn't, but I read the paper because I'll give you little snippets.
Yeah, you do. I've made some videos out of the double-decker train. Remember that one? Yeah, carry on.
Well, anything I see, like, I always relay over to you, and I think I send it over a Cosmic Cat. I can't remember. Anyway, what it was, they have all these questions every day, and you have to guess what year it is. Now, this particular year, I knew it was 1997 because they mentioned something about Princess Diana, and they said what year, it was the year that Channel 5 come out. So what I did afterwards, I googled it. Now, if you Google that now, it says that Channel 5 come out in 1997, Karen. Now, this is the Mandela effect, because there's no way on God's green earth that come out in 1997. It come out far before that, because I remember back in the when I used to live like in Boreham Wood, like back in the early 90s.
Shall I see when it was made? Shall I just quickly see when it was made?
Quick, see what you come up with.
Okay, 1 second. We're just stopping this video, and I'm going to go over and see. 1 second.
Now,
right, so I've looked it up, Gary. 30th of March, 1997. That's not true.
Now, in my reality, it was far before that. Now, everyone, all your subscribers, like, I want you to put it in the chat room if they think it was before that. I know it was 100%. Now, also, I Googled what just 1 year later, Channel E4 and ITV2 come out. That makes sense. But there's no way just 1 year before that. Now, I'll tell you how I remember this, Karen, because when I lived over in Boreham Wood all those years ago, in the late 80s...
Channel 5 was probably going in the 80s, wasn't it?
Listen,
or even the 90s. I don't believe it was 97, but anyway, carry on.
I was one of the first people to have a Sky dish. And in those days, you actually couldn't get BBC One and BBC Two on Sky. They had some kind of dispute, but you got all the other channels. I know 100%, right? And what you had to do, you had to go back to terrestrial, because you know I'm pretty good like with this kind of stuff. You had to go back to terrestrial TV to get BBC One and BBC Two. Now, as you know, you can get it on all of them, but in those days you couldn't, because I actually had the council come round and said, "What's that? You've got to remove it." And I said, "It's a Sky dish, mate." I said, "Everyone's going to have them soon." I said, "You might as well just swallow it." And you know, because I was
what
the
year
first
was
one
that?
in the area,
What year do you reckon that was, or you just remember it being before 1997?
Well, I know I moved there in 1987, and I got out of there in 1990 because I didn't like the area. So I know definitively. I don't care what anyone tells me. I know that I had Channel 5. Channel 5's been around for a long time. You could usually get remote controls that only had it had one.
Well, I said I was living with my parents, and that was the 80s.
Exactly, and they're saying, and I'm so glad that when you Googled it, you see the same as me, 1997. That isn't part of my reality. It's definitely a Mandela effect. There's absolutely no question.
But why would they do that? For what reason?
Sorry?
Why would they do it? For what reason?
No, they're not doing it. Reality. See, the thing is with Mandela effect, Karen, it retroactively changes all the way back. It doesn't matter. If you get a textbook now, right? You get a textbook and you look it up. I mean, I'll go down a library and I'll get a textbook about Channel 5. It will even say it was in 1997.
Do you know what it says? It says former names 5. It was never called that. It was always called Channel 5.
And does it say like that was started before or what?
It says former names 5, 2002 to 2011.
Yes, well, I'm telling you, I know for a fact. I'll put my life on it. And I think everyone's going to concur with this when they hear this, when they hear this podcast. That's definitely. Thing is, you spot these things straight away. I know for a fact, that I had Channel 5 before 1997. And it was only 1 year later that, like I said, they had E4 and ITV2, which does sound about right. But Channel 5 was a long way before them.
Yes.
I remember, when I moved in with Mum and Dad, we used to watch Channel 5 ran. I can't remember what shows we used to watch, but that is my point. The thing is,
not just that. We've got. I mean, I used to watch soap operas on it. They've been going for years. Which one is it? I can't think which one it is on on Channel 5. Can't remember, but I'll remember it as we go along. Probably. I watched that for years.
What I'm saying is, the strangest thing is, it don't matter. Sometimes it flip flops. You actually might get something where you got residue, where it says, it was on in 1988 or whatever, something like that. But then sometimes you don't. Sometimes it flip flops. I mean, maybe next week you'll Google it and it will say it was in 19. This is the strangest thing. We don't actually know what's going on. We're all clutching at straws. But I know for a fact, right, that now one of the channels I watch, right, is actually I don't know if he's a preacher himself, but he's been actually.
Do you think you're getting confused with Channel 4, by the way?
No, Channel 5. Channel 5. It's Channel 5, but Channel 5 was out long before 1997 in my reality. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what anyone says. That was out.
But I just realised there's Channel 4 and there's Channel 5.
Yeah, no, the Channel 5. I know it was before 1997. It's because, like I said, it was only 1 year after that they had E4 and ITV2 according to when you Google it. But the thing is, Karen, these things, it's retro causality. It doesn't matter how far you go back. All the written word will still be. Now, that's what I was saying. There's a channel I watch. I'll send you over his video. And this guy has been studying Bible scripture now for 40 years, and he's one of the very, very few people that is in that community that who spoke out and said that the Bible's actually changed. With now the wolf lays with the lamb and not the lion anymore. But some of the people in our community have actually gone up to preachers and said, "Can you sort of, listen? I don't know much about the Bible, but they've said, can you sort of tell me what part of the Bible, what the actual script says?" And they still come out with the lion lays with a lamb. And when they look it up, it says the wolf, and they just say, "Oh no, it must be like this edition," because the thing is, it's their cognitive dissonance kicking in now. And back to what I was saying about people in our community, I'm very wary about anyone. Listen, if they haven't looked into it, fair play. If they've looked into it, like I have, and like others have, and they don't want to look into it, they completely deny it, I have to be suspicious about them. And it was my uncle my uncle's passing and what happened at his funeral made me think, I thought this before, Karen, anyway. I mean, there's no way, if everyone thinks that everyone in our community is squeaky clean.
We obviously don't know, do we, Gary? You didn't even know about your uncle. But one thing, shall I go back to Agent Orange?
Listen, I only knew about this 2 weeks ago. I think Kat was the first person I told. I said it's amazing. I said, because even I didn't know this. I didn't. I mean, it wasn't a secret. But my sister just said to me, she thought I was at a funeral. She said, because we always haven't been that close, me and my sister. We are now. I think my mum being very ill, brought us both together. even closer. But you know, and we were just talking, and she said, "Yeah, she was amazing. Like, there's all they even had his hat, like his army hat. They put it on his grave. It's a special thing they do, like for ex-war heroes and all that." But he said it was all the others that were there. They was like, it wasn't just the, you know, because he spoke fluent French as well. Even though he was Polish, he spoke fluent French, and the French resistance were there apparently, and all these other like. All these Secret Service people and all that, and they were gobsmacked because, you know, they didn't know, they never had a clue. And of course, then it made me think about our community, and especially the ones that have been in the military, you know, because, I mean, I'll give you another little example. My uncle left the military in the mid-60s or something like that, but he still worked for him, like, he was like a driver for him. He was, because they actually employ, usually when they have drivers, he used to go down to Porton Down and things like that, and he used to tell me about all these places he'd been to. Now, he broke the official secrets that, but it don't matter because he's dead now. And he said something, I think I told you this before, he said he's been to some place where it's like putting a matchbox. I said, I was living in a tower block, and I said to him, what? How big is this place where you go into? He said, well, you know where you live, like, in that tower block? He said, try and put a box of matches, like, in the corner of your room. That's how big the place is underground, you know? And he said he only had special clearance to go to some of it, not all of it. So a lot of this stuff you see with James Bond and all that is not always far from the truth, you know? So my point is, do you really, really think all this stuff that we're talking about was going to come out and people weren't going to be a placement right at the very beginning of this? You know, it goes without, it's completely illogical to think, no, everybody in our community is squeaky clean. And
I do understand, Gary. When I first started, I'd have hangouts with loads of big channels, and over time I've stopped.
Yes, well, I mean, you know, the ones seem to sort of like, well, let's put it this way: it's one of the very few things, isn't it? It's either their cognitive dissonance, because you know my Asperger's, I try and work out what the possibilities can be. Now, someone in the chat room might think of another possibility. It's their cognitive dissonance kicking in. The fact they haven't investigated it, which I find mighty strange, when like they investigate everything else from 9/11 to the thing that's happened the last couple of years, to the shape of the Earth, to the moon landings, but they don't investigate that. So that is almost certainly out of the question. The next one is
think of all the poor little souls that are following them.
Yeah, they're gatekeepers, and they're like, and they're preventing us, or not me, or you,
or even growing further, aren't they? They're stopping us growing because they're keeping us at a certain.
Exactly. They're trying to keep me. This is what I was saying to Cat a few weeks ago. I said the idea is with that, it's to keep you locked in a spiritual box. So basically, you're not going any further than that. So basically, because if you watch a lot of the channels that just do the shape of the Earth and nothing else, it's just very repetitive. They're just like going around and around and around, talking about the same stuff over and over again, you know, and you know, me and you investigate loads of things. Now, are they not allowed? That's another thing as well. Are they not allowed to sort of like talk about this stuff? Like, you can talk about this, you can talk about that, you can talk about the other.
From the beginning, I actually said they're either I call it egotistical because I can't think of another word. They're just so concentrated on themselves. The only thing that exists is them or their agent. You know, they're trolls.
Well, I mean, the thing is. It doesn't really make. No, the thing is, I've actually heard some people on their channels, when other people, I'm not mentioning names, like, but we know all the top people that are investigating like reality changes, the Mandela, because I hate that word, Mandela effect. But anyway, you know, there's people there's one that I watch all the time from America, you know, and he can't work out either. JC, she can't work out. The thing is, we're trying to fathom why these people won't look at it. There's a reason for it. I mean, the thing is, this is how
because they're doing their jobs, aren't they?
I
think they send them in. They send them in. They send them to channels like they've come to me. Yeah, they try to destroy you.
Yeah, and I think what it is, right, Karen, I think it's literally to keep your energy and frequency and your spiritual awakening at a certain level and not expanding.
Yeah, and they
because,
also know, Gary, they also know that people like watching drama. So if, say, there's arguments and things happening,
what you got to remember,
people will love all that.
We're spiritual beings having having a terrestrial experience in this avatar body. Now, the thing is, we know that when you pass here, and whatever you believe in, I personally believe, this is just a testing ground down here for everyone. This is everyone's testing ground, and whether you're judged or not, I have no idea. But I think this is just an avatar body with your spirit inside, which is your real strength. It's not your physical strength, but it's your real spiritual strength. Now, the thing is, they want to, obviously the powers that be want to keep that down because it's all over them. If we had say something like, if you remember this film in the 60s, the Children of the Damned, that's what I was looking for, the Children of the Damned, where you had these kids that had these absolutely amazing spiritual powers, and there's a later one made up of a guy called Christopher Reeve. Now, I'll tell you something about him. His name has been Mandela affected. It used to be Christopher Reeves. Now it's Christopher Reeve. Now, when people turn around and say, because some people have said to me, but Gail, how do these people not know? They take the download, Karen. It's always been part of their reality.
Yeah, that sounds like Agent Smith.
Yeah. It's always been part of their reality, and they don't know any different. Like a lot of people's names are changed, and maybe they do know, maybe they don't. But if you look, there's lots of residue of different things that now are becoming so apparent. I mean, the Bible changes for me. I'm only going while other people are saying because I don't know much about the Bible, but I do watch a guy's channel. It's called Wake Me Up or whatever. I can't remember what it's blinking called. Anyway, I'll text it. I should have wrote it down. I'll send you over his video. Now this guy, he might not be a preacher, I don't know, but he's been studying Bible verses for 40 years, and it is changing. And you can't just deny it. Now, is it because other preachers are just saying they don't want to lose their job? Have they taken a download so they think it's always been that way? I mean, some terrible things are in the Bible now that never used to be. They talk about it's too much for me to go into, but the Bible has changed. It's not changed once or twice. It's dramatically changed, But I mean, another one for me. I mean, I spoke about this here before. I know for a fact. Remember, I'm one of the elder statesmen of this community. I'm nearly 62 now, and I know that my cemetery was spelled A-R-Y at the end, not E-R-Y. I don't care what anyone says, but you see everywhere now, it's all cemetery. I mean, a guy hasn't come around in the middle of the night, has he, and put an E in where the A was. It's impossible. Reality is it's a river. It's in flux. It's a fluid. It's not what we've been told. We've been told everything. I mean, I told you a few years ago, a lot of our community, I call them bricks and mortar glow deniers, because even if they're not what I'm saying, an agent, they tend to just stick to that. A very rigid view of what the world is, But with me, I like to look at everything. And if I find, I mean, don't be wrong, I've looked at things before and I think that's a lot of old mumbo jumbo. But this, like most people looked into it very deeply, we don't know what's going on. But for people in our community to completely shove it to one side and not look at it, it makes me very suspicious. And like I said, after what happened to my uncle, it's like God saying to me, look, you didn't even know about your uncle until a couple of weeks ago, put out a video about it. And I was just waiting for the evidence, and I think the evidence is accumulating that there's people in our community that are allowed to show certain things but not others, and that's got to make you highly suspicious, because why don't they just do a little bit? I know some channels just specialise in a certain subject. I can understand that. That's fine.
I think that's the saddest bit, is we just don't know who we can trust anymore.
I think all the big very
even people you thought you could trust that you've met, you're not sure about them as well. Now
people have actually met. We spoke about this before. We have question marks now, and you know, it's very hard. But the thing is, my point is, you know, I've been wanting to do this for a little while, and I thought it was about time because other people have done this. You know, like I mean, I can mention him; he won't mind. Like Staveley's got his suspicions. JC, she's got her suspicions because we're trying to find out. You know, it's a mountain of evidence now. I mean, what you got to remember, this has been around now for quite a number of years, and I think. Well,
do you remember the little video? I'm not going to mention the names, but do you remember the little video I showed you when one was playing a female solicitor when it's a man?
Yes, that's right.
Playing a female solicitor and they're a man.
Yeah. And that's right, and I had these experiences now where
and it's them, isn't it, Gary?
Sorry,
it's them, isn't it?
Yeah. But you know something? I mean, a lot of the people, obviously, like they're either actors or they're put in a place very early on with information to just give us just enough, but not too much, because then our spiritual awakening gets more powerful and more powerful and more powerful, and we can't be having that, because you've got to remember, you know, I thought what's going on in the paper today, like with the Sue Gray report, like what's happening. Everyone there is just so cheesed off, like with the government anyway. So then you got us lot come along and turn around and say, well, we're developing supernatural powers. You know, everyone's going to say, well, we need a bleeding government for, because I actually think we do possess. I mean, well,
do you know what I thought the other day, Gary? Gary, I cut my finger. And it is taking a little time to mend, but in a sense, I mean, if you chop my arm off, it's not going to work. But when things happen to your body, so we're sort of like mini Terminators. The Terminator can heal itself. Yeah. We heal ourselves.
I think we are. And the thing is...
We're all the things that are in every film they make, there's an element of us in it.
I thought of that the other day. When you watch it sort of like, see old sort of like buildings in Tartarian times, you hardly ever see any you don't see any toilets at all. And I've got a theory about this. I'm wondering if there was a time we were spiritual beings and didn't eat, and sort of like, and we had two suns. You know, a lot of people say like the moon, or we had another sun. So we had two suns, and we were spiritual beings, and we got our power through the light. We were light beings, and we didn't have an avatar body. I mean, otherwise, the thing is, I just think of things like Mr. Spock logically. I thought, well, how comes in a lot of the Tartarian buildings there weren't no loos?
We don't know. Yeah, there is buildings that have been found without toilets, but maybe it's like a set they've made. I've wondered that, whether it's all been a bit of a set, or maybe they hadn't finished. They hadn't finished building. We don't even know how old.
A lot of the stuff you see with Tartaria as well, you don't know where it's come from, really, do you? It could be planted there. This is the problem we've got, you see.
They did seem to have their toilets in the old days outside a bit. I mean, I can't imagine if you're in a castle and you have to go, hang on a minute, I'm going to the shed in the garden. I don't know if that happens, but lots of people have toilets outside. We've got a
suspicious view light on everything, for the simple reason we just don't know. I mean, you know, stuff that we're seeing on the internet with Tartaria and all that, I agree there was a civilization that was
it's bigger than that. I only use that word because to me Tartaria covers all the history we don't know anything about, and that's hundreds of years. I just use the word Tartaria because that's what I do. To me, it just means it fits this great big hundreds of sections.
We have to, like the other word we use, like, you know, we don't use globe denial. We use the other word, which I don't want to say because I know you sometimes
flatty. You're a flatty.
Flatty. I'm a flatty. I mean, the thing is, they're all talking about it now anyway, aren't they? So, but I was watching a program the other day. I do keep up because I like to sort of because I find it like very amusing. I was watching one of these shows like with regards to, like, you know, the UFOs and the UFO crashes at Roswell and one thing and another, and they said it was all being kept in Hangar 84. Now, I know it was Hangar 18. In my reality, now, we know it's rubbish anyway, but it's changed from...
I do remember this. Someone was saying there was a planet they were looking for, and they were horrified because for years it was over there in that bit, and now it's over here in this bit. Like, they just change things when they want to. They just change it.
The thing is, like, Karen, this is the thing. They make up things as they go along. That could be, listen, I'm all for, like, when people say, "Oh well, no, Gal, that's wrong," because I was wrong about all of you, ladies. If you remember, somebody in your chat room or somebody turned around and said, "No." So there are changes. Sometimes there are changes. Like I knew it was oil of Ulay, and now it's oil of Olay. Well, they changed the name, and that can be proved.
One we can prove though. We used to have marathons, and they're now called Snickers. They did. That was a big change, but they were Snickers in America.
Some changes, there's a logical reasoning behind it, but it's the ones without a logical reason. There's so many changes, and it's retroactive as well. It goes right back through time, because I'm still looking around every time I go to a different area. Like if I go down to see my friend Samantha, like in Bristol, I go and see Christine in Peterborough and all that. I'm looking for a cemetery with an A, but I can't find any residue. But I know it wasn't ERY. I don't care what anyone says to me. In my reality, when I was growing up as a kid, thing is, Karen, I've got physical disabilities.
Can I say something? I've got an issue like that right now, but it's not about cemetery. Like I was looking up about star forts, and like Donington Castle's one. And then basically they can even build bits in front because they're covering doors up, and then the star fort can be really big, and then it's all uniformed. And then suddenly I had to hang out with our Melted Reality, and he was looking at this fort, and the legs went in different directions. And then suddenly after that, all the star forts we found had legs going in different directions, including down in Dover.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what happened there then? All the star forts were very uniformed, and now all the legs are facing different directions. What's that?
Well, what about the anatomical changes? We've got changes to our body. I mean, there's two.
Are we changing our reality here all the time?
We are, and this is what I think it is. It's trying to keep us at a certain level.
So how many people are thinking they want Boris in then, and all those people in? They have to think about from them out.
But what you got to remember is, Karen, all them people that are like that, they're just like complete. No disrespect. They ain't got a clue what's going on. I mean, the thing is, one of my friends down the gym.
Well, we didn't years ago, did we? We didn't. We were the same. But then there came this point when we really woke up, and then you and me and people like you and me, we've gone out and we've done our own research. We spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and trillions of hours looking at it.
And it's laziness not doing it. But my friend down the gym, when I said I was doing, he said, "What are you doing tonight, Gal?" I said, "I'm doing a podcast with one of my dearest friends, like I've known for quite a few years now." And he said, let us know, like, and I'll watch it. But the thing is, it just goes straight over his head. And next time he see me, he'll probably look at me like I'm mad. You know what I mean? So I'll just say to him, "Well, I know I haven't. Unfortunately, like we haven't done it yet, or something, because there's no point."
I do understand this. In this video, I was telling you that Johnny Depp was Amber Heard. And I told Ellie, and she screamed at me, "No, you're mad! You're ridiculous! It's just." I was saying, "Look, Ellie, there you go." And she looked at it a little bit. She said, "You're mad!" And she was like this, and I said, "Go away." And in the end, I'd say, "Go away then." But I went somewhere else, and I showed somebody I showed somebody she knows, and she just said, "You've got to be open." She saw that she saw Gary. She saw that they were very alike, but Ellie couldn't see it and didn't want to.
Well, the heart has moved to central position, and then we've got these glands at the back of the throat. But then if you sort of like ask any doctor, they must have taken a download because they've always been there, but they suddenly just appeared. It's like, what about sort of like geographical changes? I mean,
well, why do we have an appendix?
It goes. The thing is, Karen, it goes on. I wish like. I could magically wake up one morning, like I have a full head of hair, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Gary, I love you the way you are.
Anyway, the thing is, that's right, yeah, you've only known me like this. But
I wondered, do I need to change a picture or anything, or I've gone back to Agents...
Now listen, I want to go, can you change a picture? You know what? I sent you the picture of the lens.
Yeah, 1 second, don't say anything, I'm just going to go over there, 1 second. Right, so I've got the picture up, Gary.
Right. Well, I'll give you a little story now. In the 60s, my dad got this camera called a Voigtlander camera. Now, whatever it was at the time, it was a top-of-the-range camera, and I think he probably got it from some nefarious people. I'm not going to mention any names, but, I'll leave it to your imagination, because my daddy's running around with all these blinking criminal types. Anyway, he got this camera. Now, it was a very, very expensive camera at the time, and at the time, with using cellulose film, it was the dog's whatsits. It was like, it was a Rolls Royce, and Nikon and Canon, if Nikon was around at the time, was like the poor relatives kind of thing. And it was a fantastic camera, absolutely fantastic. And now, my point is, right, if he could have got a telephoto lens back in the 60s, right, he would have looked out at sort of like across the water, because he always used to take it down to the beach. I don't know where the films are now, like, you know, I'll try and bring it down one day. I think my sister's got it on a video now, like, of when we were kids, like, all running around down at the beach and all that. But anyway, the telephoto lens for that camera now is nearly $6,000, right? And I don't know how much, like, I should have asked Kat, like, how much the P900s and thousands are, but they're a little over £1,000.
Yeah, about that.
In the 60s, in relative terms, now that lens now is like $6,000, right? So God knows how much, like, the camera cost. I don't think my old man paid for it. I'm sure he got it, like, doing something. Who knows? But anyway, that telephoto lens he'd have looked out at sort of like boats across the ocean, and he'd have thought to himself, he's quite a very intelligent man, my old man, and thought, how can I see that, like, I think he'd have cottoned on. He'd have cottoned on with the shape of this earth even then. But I thought to myself, hang on a minute, do you think, like, the price of the lenses were deliberately high to stop people doing it? Because let's say in relative terms, go back to the 60s now.
How old do you reckon that is? Because that looks quite old, that one.
Yes, well, the thing is that or similar was probably going to be the one for my dad's camera. Now, you can see the price of that second hand, like, on eBay or whatever, is $6,000 and whatever. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it was £1,500 or $2,000 back in, like, 1963. Karen, you could buy a car for that. It was unattainable for people to get lenses that Nikons can do these days. Now, the point I'm trying to make is here, right, I think that the technology was, I know they have Carl Zeiss sort of like lenses and one thing another. I used to sort of like actually deliver Carl Zeiss down around the corner here from where I live, actually. They used to be. I think they moved. But anyway, my point is, people couldn't afford that kind of thing back then. All right, you had telescopes. You know, I'm sure there must have been some people that had telescopes that had the I think the Nikon 1000 has got sort of like, you know, 125 times the 125 magnification. I'm not sure. I know I should have asked Kat. I know it's quite a lot. But my point is, it was completely unattainable in those days. He just sort of like used to take pictures of me and my sister, like, down on the beach and one another. But I've got a little sort of like subtext to this. Back in 1974, my dad passed away. My mum gave that camera to my uncle. Now, anyway, he hadn't used it for years. And I remember when my other two uncles, I've got a very big family, the other two uncles got married in 1971. My dad was going to take the photographs of the wedding. They had a double wedding, like, two of my uncles, like, with their wives. One of them's they're both dead. One of the women's still alive. I don't know about the other one. They divorced, but his camera never worked, and we didn't know why. And a guy stepped in, like, and then took the photographs for him, and I know the reason why now, that he never got it repaired from 1971 to 1974, because the uncle, the oldest uncle, like, who got the camera, he said there was one place in the whole of England, in Leicester, that sort of like done these cameras, right? He sent it away to him, thinking he was going to get a bill, like, for about, I don't know, 20 quid or something, and then they said, oh, sorry, sir, we found a load of sand in the shutter, right, and we had to take it all apart, and he got a bill for £100. Now, you remember back in 1974, Karen, that's an awful lot of money. So this is how good this camera was. £100, that's like a week's, probably more than a week's wages. I should imagine, like, in 1974, people, I don't know what the wage is now, but say someone's taking home, like, it's more than a week's wages now, put it that way, definitely. And he was gobsmacked, but he wanted it that bad. Now, I don't know where that bleeding camera is. I think my cousin's got it. I'll have to sort of like see if I can get it back off him, because it must be worth a fortune. But, you know, the cameras, my point I'm trying to make is the technology was always around, even with cellulose film. But it was having the range to look at sort of like how far out you can see with ships supposedly going over the horizon, which we know they're not now. And, you know, the telephoto lens, like you see it there, that's a second-hand one. It's probably 70, 60 years old or something, like, and they want $6,000 for it because it was completely unattainable, and it was like it was pretty much a Rolls Royce of cameras at the time. Now that company's gone. I've looked into it a little bit more. That company's gone bust now because of the digital age with like the Nikon
Right.
range and whatever. But it's strange how, like, you know, why the price of these telephoto lens was so
Yeah, because to
inflated.
me, if you're talking of the 70s, most people probably had a plastic camera. I mean, a really plastic
Well,
camera.
I had a little Kodak. I had a little Kodak thing. But having said that, you know what it is? With sort of like indoctrination and one thing. I mean, I told you I lived in like the Costa del Sol for a while, and I used to look across very often, like, and see the mountains, like in Morocco. Now,
Yeah, I've seen that. My friends lived. My friends lived in La Cala. Listen, they lived in La Cala, and there's some hills there, and we went up there, and the moon was out, and I turned around, and I just couldn't believe that we could see all these mountains in Morocco, or wherever it is.
But
it's
you
Morocco,
know something, and it's strange how sort of like it's only when you're told you'll notice it, because
I never took photographs of it because I remember going, wow, I wish I'd taken some photographs.
See, some people's cognitive dissonance and bias is so great, it's not real, because my very best friend, like, it don't matter what I say to him, it doesn't matter. I could sit him down here now, right, for 2 hours and go through everything with him, and he'll just say something else. He'll say, there's a reason for it, Gal, I don't know, maybe sort of like the atmosphere bends light or something. It'll be everything but what his brain is actually telling him, because, you know, it's very hard. I mean, some people, because they've got to suddenly realise that everything they know, it's like 9/11. I talked to him about 9/11, and he still believes like it's done with a load of Muslims with box cutters, like, and whatever. And it's like, it don't matter what evidence you put in front of these people. And that's what I said. It's like my mate down the gym, like, I could never sort of like let him see this, because I've only known him like for a few months. He's a nice fellow who's trying to lose some weight, like, you know. So he's going down here in the gym and going in the spa and all that. He's an Indian chap, but I'm gonna turn around and say something, because if he hears all this, he's gonna say, he'll go around the gym. He'll say, "Oh, we got a blinking nutcase," because what you got to remember, like you quite rightly said, we was where he was once, and it's back to the very beginning of this conversation. The powers that be don't mind you getting to a certain level. They don't want you to get too spiritually awakened, because, I mean, very often now, I know my phone's going to ring. I've done it before. And what about like interfering with like electrical things? Remember when I come down to Stowe once in Fashion, Karen, and we went into like your local co-op or whatever, and I said, you watch this. I bet the machines don't work. When we went up, do you remember? It didn't work.
Yeah. I think I do, yeah.
Do you remember? We went up to put the food through. We was getting some food in there, and I said, watch this. It won't work. We can alter reality. I've done it to a bank teller before. I've said to her, because you're saying it's going to happen, and it can happen. We can change reality. I went into a bank one day, and I said, "Here, love." I said, "I bet your computer's going to go wrong." And I swear to God, she started laughing. She said, "Oh my God!" She said, "What are you, like a magician or something?" I said, "No." I said, because what we've been told isn't what reality is. And, you know, there's even some companies now, they turn around and say, this is God's honest truth, they turn around and say, if they have a fault, like, and the system goes down and up another, they say, don't blame us, blame the Mandela effect, because they have this kind of thing going on. But yeah, this bank teller turned around and said, well, that's never happened before. And she just put it down to sort of like, oh, well, these things happen, like, it's just a coincidence. But there's no coincidences, it's synchronicity. We're putting our reality, and this is now, you can imagine if you've got, mate, listen, that magic figure, 144,000, maybe if there's 144,000 like me, you, Kat, and a few others that we know, it's all over for them. It's completely all over, because, you know, are you going to listen to some clan like on the TV, like, you know, we see every day, that running a show like, and you've got people with superhuman powers, and, you know, if people laugh at this, they're more than welcome to life. But I know I've actually done it. I've changed reality, and I know. I've seen synchronicities all the time. I told you about my experiences, like with number plates. I was doing it a long time before anyone else. I've been doing this since 1992. Number plates it freaked me out, Karen. If this happened, when I see people on the TV, like they say they're mediums, something or another, if what happened to me in 1990 to them, excuse my French, they'd pop themselves, because it was terrifying for me. I mean, I didn't ask for it. When I had my mini stroke or whatever it was like, and when I come round, I started seeing all this stuff, and I still see it to today. And sometimes it don't happen for ages. I don't go looking for it. You don't go looking for it; it just happens. And very often, I've sent things to you, haven't I? I've sent things to Kat where, you know, it's pretty much freak you out. And I've turned around and said, "Oh, I said I've seen this on a number plate." It's like when I left there, when this current nonsense was first out, and I walked down the road, and I thought, "How am I going to get myself out of this?" And I see a number plate, and it said A1 JC and something else, JW, and it was telling me, say you're Jehovah's Witness, and you can't have it. So, you know, it seems like our reality is there. It's almost like I don't know if
if only you opened your eyes up a bit more.
Yeah, because that's the thing, and they don't want us to do that. Because the thing is, if I went on the TV, Karen, with a lot of the things that's happened to me, most people just turn around and say, "Oh, this geezer, like, he's bonkers." I mean, you know, most of my family think I'm bonkers. But the thing is, it's like we know it, and the thing is, you're not going to raise your frequency unless you allow it to be. If your frequency is at such a low level and you're dumbed down because you're bloody watching the TV all day. Thing is, I still watch the TV, but for me, it's just a comedy show. I mean, I love it. I do. When I see these clowns, like, they ain't got a clue. When he hasn't got his script in front of him, like, old bozo, he's useless. He lost his script one day, and he was mumbling away and all sorts. And I think they're all programmed, all of them. I think they might be chips already. I have no idea, because it seems like it. I mean, how could they not realise, with all them parties and one thing or another, unless it was part of the script, that they weren't going to get found out? Because I read in the paper today, like, that cleaners.
Oh, right, you're talking about Boris
guards,
now.
Yeah, yeah. So my point is, it was either part of the script altogether, or if it wasn't, that they're that stupid they don't realise that people have got smartphones and they take photographs. Whistleblowers, I think whistleblowers were there because the cleaners apparently and the security guards were having a hard time, and they thought, well, we'll get you mother effers, you know what I mean? And they've sort of like got all these photographs, but, you know, is anything going to happen?
I think it's all part of the script. It's all part of the script.
Well, we know they're all in it together, so it don't really matter, does it? It's neither here nor there. But my point is, they want people to remain at a certain level. That's fine. Let them have their drink during the week. Let them have this. Let them have that. Let them have their material stuff. Let them sort of like try and get their Ferrari and one thing or another. But, you know, if you're not materialistic like us, you realise that we're spiritual beings having this earthly experience, and we're actually sort of like spirit beings in this avatar body, and we're very powerful. Now they want us to keep us downtrodden and not energize that spiritual energy, and that's where all these things. Because the thing is, you know, we see things that other people really can't see, Karen. They cannot see it. My mate, it doesn't matter. It's not part of their reality. I could sit my mate down here I could sit from now. It's nearly 8 o'clock now. I could sit down with him until 12 o'clock, and if it wasn't part of the reality, they're not going to see it, and he'll just turn around at the end and say, "Gal, I'm worried about you." I've done it to him, and he says, you know, you got to stop looking at this stuff, like, you know. I was down.
The reason we do it though is because they're living in non-reality. They're living in fantasy.
They're not living. Exactly. The thing is, one day they're going to have a massive wake-up call. You know something? I think when the finally drop, easy for me to say, when the penny finally drops, like with a lot of these people, it's going to be too much to take. Some people can actually bloody die, love. They're going to have heart attacks and die because they're going to have a download of everything that's been going on that we've been gradually accumulating over the years. And we've gradually built up this knowledge about everything. But when you suddenly just get it all together, yes, he is in on a moon landings. He looked into that and he said to me, "No, Gal," he said, "You're right." He said, "It don't make any sense, mate." He still thinks, but then he still thinks there's the ISS. He says, "Well, how comes there's the ISS in here?" I said, "They got technology, Kev, that we can only dream of. It's a holographic image or something. We don't know." But, you know, if I know about, he's a little
Gary, I said I was going to ask you this. Gary, have we ever landed on the moon?
100% no. I'll put my life on it. You know that. We've done enough shows about it. I knew as a 9-year-old boy with Asperger's that we didn't. I was saying to my dad, that don't look right and all that. That was my real dad. That when he said, "Oh, son, what are you talking about?" Of course it is. I said, "Dad, I don't care what you say." Because the thing is, when you're a child, right, and you're inquisitive, and especially like with that condition, you're especially inquisitive. It's like sometimes I have to shut up, like down the gym. I say, "Look, if I'm speaking too much, tell me, because like I'll get all these things in my head." I'll give you a little example. They're putting in new air conditioning, like in the. I have to know how things work. They're putting in new air conditioning, like in the gym, because the old one's busted. And I'm looking at it for weeks. And I spoke to the bloke here. So I said, "Excuse me, mate." I said, "I'll ask you something." I said, Can you tell me if I'm right? There's the gas coming down there, the outlet there, and all that." And he was gobsmacked, because I worked out how it all worked. The only thing I got wrong was like the little bit actually in the fan. Like you got like the main unit outside, and it sort of like it directs sort of like gas through the pipework into sort of like where the gym is and all that. And I said, "Oh, thank you very much, mate." I said, because it sounds very strange to some people, but sometimes you look at things and it does your head in, Karen. It does your head in. You want to find out how it works. And he just said to me, he seen it today actually, he said to me, he said, "Oh, it's nearly all done now, mate." And I said, "Oh, great." And I think he appreciated the fact that I was inquisitive enough to ask him, because most of the other people just working all round these two fellas while they're putting up this air conditioning. But I wanted to know how it works. And that goes all the way back to sort of like when I was a kid. I mean, Mum used to say to me, I used to ask a million questions and all that. And like I said, back to the moon landings, I knew it in 1969. I was probably the first person around, and as soon as I see it, no, there was other people. my mate, sorry, Karen, you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
All right. Well, my mate, the one who passed away, the one I told you about, my dear friend, like, that committed suicide in 2000, where did he go? 2014, yeah, year before me mum, 2014, he hung himself, like, it got too much for him. Well, he said to me, he knew about, because I weren't talking about the shape of the earth then, but I was talking about the moon land, and he said, "Gal," he said, when I was living in Tottenham at the time, as soon as my dad watched it, he said he turned around to me, because he was a little bit older than me, right? So he was probably about 17, 18 then, and he turned around and said, his old man turned around and said, "It's a lot of old bullshit, son." He said, "That's in a studio." So there were people there. So when people say to me, "How comes people didn't see it at the time?" There was people, Karen. His dad was one of them, and he forgot all about it. So when I brought it back up to him, he said, "Blimey, Gal," he said, "My dad told me that, like, when we watched it in 1969. I said, "Ray," I said, I was a 9-year-old boy. I said, and I knew it then. And I said, I was bringing it up to that same uncle, the one that got the Voigtlander camera. I remember about 1981, he was a roofer, and I used to go roofing with him at weekends for extra money. And I said to him one day, I said, "Here, Bill," I said, "I see a programme the other night, and I thought this, like, for a very long time, that we never landed on a moon." And he said, "Oh," he said, "You're into that conspiracy theory stuff again, isn't you?" He said, "Oh, I don't hear about it." And then obviously, because you got so much of that, there was a time when you got so much of that, because the only way you was getting your information was through the TV, so people didn't believe it. But of course now, I think the internet is it was meant to be their greatest weapon, but it's turned into our greatest weapon, because now there's millions of people. Now, if anyone still thinks we landed on the moon with the evidence in front of them, I feel sorry for you. That's all I can say, because it's
insurmountable. You mean?
Sorry?
When you've been told, when someone said that's not real, that's when you feel sorry for them if they still believe in it.
Well, yeah. The thing is,
you do need to give them time to think, though, Gary, because it probably happened for me when I got into Flatty and that. I remember I was going to debunk that, and someone else was going to debunk Nibiru, which is a load of rubbish, because it's anyway.
Yeah.
And what it was is, I thought, it got me, and I thought, oh no. Well, first of all, I said no, I'm not doing it, and then about a month later, I did. So it might take people a few weeks to wake up, even though they've been told.
Would you know something? I swear to God, I was at my friend's place, like, and I had this, like, Samsung. It's still around, this Samsung, like, tablet. Chris, my friend Pete in Peterborough, Christine's got it, and it just come up one day. Research like FE, research it. And I sort of, like, I don't know, I looked at about 1 or 2 videos. I knew straight away. I didn't
that was
need,
me.
my mind
Water seeks its level. That was enough for me.
My mind was going into overdrive, and I thought, Gal, how could you have been so stupid? But then again, it wasn't, was it? Because we just didn't think. That's what I'm saying. We don't think.
You're only who you are with what you know, aren't you, really? And if you're being educated wrongly and you're watching the television, then you're just going to be...
as well.
Someone else.
I've got a theory about that. As well, Karen. With what we were saying earlier about, people don't sort of like, you could show them the Bible changes and they'll turn around and say, oh no, it's always been that way. I actually think they get a download. They actually get a download from the TV or from papers. It don't work with me. It don't. So we've spoke about this before. There's certain kinds of people nothing seems to work with. Maybe people with Asperger's, maybe people with a little bit of OCD. The same things don't seem to sort of like work, and it don't work with us. But with other people, they take a download, and even. And it gives them a bad memory, and they just think, oh, well, it's always been that way. We'll just go along with it. But all us lot in our community, because let's face it, most of the people
Gary,
in our
next
community...
time we go for a freedom thingy, Bob, March, we're going to BBC.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, can you imagine, like, if we rolled up and I said, can we have a show, please? If you remember, this has got a sort of like... give you a big question mark. When Sergeant was on like the show talking about the shape of the earth, there was like a military man on with him disputing it. So then you got to think to yourself, hang on a minute, that seems a bit suspect, But they're never give sort of like people like us a platform. I know like Murphy's been on a show once, like but it's very few and far between because they don't want this stuff out. They don't mind us lot because. They just think, let's face it, Karen, I've got to say it, still, the general population just think we're like nut jobs, like, we're not firing all six cylinders, and we get that all the time, and that's their prerogative, that's what I want to think that. I mean, it's laziness, really, that they haven't done any research. And
when I try to show people about how fast we're going and that we're going 3 different directions, one anti-clockwise with the moon and the other 2 are clockwise with the sun and the universe, and that adds up to 80 Mach. And they think I'm mad because I say that we're not moving. So what sounds more frightening, going Mach 80 into this space that you know nothing about that's got asteroids in, as far as I'm concerned?
I mean, if you remember, like...
but they think you're crazy because you don't believe we're a spinning thing.
I mean, so there's some photographs now, some infrared ones especially, that are sort of like 700 miles plus, and the drop is miles. It's miles and miles and miles. Now the thing is, you can give them a little bit of refraction. You can give them atmospheric aberrations. You can give them anything you want. You're not going to get 20, 30, 40 miles of drop or whatever it is. You're not going to get that. You're not going to be able to take a photograph that long.
NASA say that even in the ISS space station you can't see the curve.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so ridiculous.
200 and something miles up, you can't see the curve. I mean, it's almost like we're absolutely massive. But then when they show you the videos, they go around the globe really quickly.
But the thing is, Karen, it doesn't matter how big we were. There's still got to be a mathematical equation of the drop. Say the. So, do you remember I've done this? I think I
can't remember who it was, but I put their video out. What they said was they've made a mistake because when they do their calculations, you're always the point, so you're the highest point in it all. It goes from you, so everybody else will be lower than you because we're on this thing that's got a curve on it. But actually, everybody is the same. So how does that work? Because everybody's going to be the same. Just because in your world, you're the top one because it starts from you. But for you, it's you where it starts. So how does that work?
The thing is, Karen.
So they're saying they've made mistakes in trying to explain the curvature.
They're living in a fake reality, and they want to just stay there. I mean, if you remember down Hyde Park, I don't know if you was there that time, but Bart's, who don't like his name mentioned, a certain sort of like guy in America like that does investigations. He worked out that if you was to sort of like take from one side of the Earth to the other, that measurement, he worked out it was 39 of them to get to the moon. So what I did, I got about 39 globes, and if you showed anyone that, it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable to think like in 1969 we went there, but people still believe it because they actually want to live in an unreality. They don't want to live in. I think most people don't want to live in reality. Karen, we've learned to live.
No,
in
they like
reality.
the reality that they've made, and don't forget they were
like
watching it from children, though. Unfortunately,
they like their unreality. Yeah, you know what I say? Most people, I hate to say this, but they are actually grown up children in an adult's body. They're actually grown up children in an adult's body
because big children.
They're just big children because, you know, it's horrible, really. I prefer, you know, we spoke about this before, you know, I remember when I was down with you once, like, and you said, like, you know, or I said to you, like, do you ever wish, like, you never looked into anything, any of this and all that? And no, I'm glad I have, because we are actually living in reality now, and I think it's the powers that be don't want us to expand our horizons even further, because, you know, it's over for a minute. It's game over. I mean, maybe I actually call it like a tipping point. Maybe the tipping point, it's not 144,000. It might be 144 million, because I mean, there's more than 144,000 of us, Karen, in the world. So it's probably 144 million, and then it's a tipping point. Once we reach that figure, it's all over for them, because we use our collective consciousness telepathically, do things telepathically. Everything is to keep us dumbed down. I think one time we probably was angelic beings. I mean, you know, I said it earlier. Maybe in Tartaria, like, you know, you didn't see toilets. It's very strange, because you don't see enough graves. So you think of all the billions and billions of people that have come and gone, supposedly, where they're all blinking buried. I know a lot of them.
Gary, I've got a video waiting to go out. It's about a graveyard in Philadelphia. When they built it, it was like not anywhere near the town, and the town's grown so much they were building right around the cemetery. But it was called something else, which is a French name, but you can't find any information about it. And basically, they reinterred thousands of people. I mean, like 28,000. They only wrote to 700, and only 300 of those were reinterred. Do you want to know why?
No, go on.
Because they were so old, the coffins, and they were put in a cemetery. And not just that, they showed some pictures of them moving it, which is the main picture on that video, and they look like vampire tombs. They're so thick, tall, the sides. They look they're just so big. They're not like our coffins. They're huge, these coffins. Your cranes had to move them, and they look obviously were quite big then. But basically,
so there must have been giants in those days, like we know.
But it was never going to work there, because what they did was, there were so many reasons. First of all, a university wanted it, and they wanted to put a car park and a field on it. The second thing is, in all the talks, it was like, well, due to pollution, it's not in a very good place, that cemetery, for the cemetery. But I was thinking, well, if they're worried about pollution for the cemetery, what about the people? Because it's industrial and stuff. And then the third bit was, when they reinterred the people about half an hour away, they don't seem to have coffins. They've just got a little name plaque. So where did they put those people? But they took all their gravestones and chucked them over the edge into a river, and it became like to shore up the river. And you can go there and see all the tombstones lying there. And you think, who got away with this?
Thing is, you know what I always say, Karen, about anything? They lie about everything else, so they're going to tell us the truth about the population, the numbers of the population of the Earth. It's ridiculous. We don't know how many people's on this Earth. We have not got a clue.
Do you know what it looks like to me? Because, you know, like our melted reality says that clay comes from melted bricks. There was that many melted buildings. It's caused all this clay, and you're like, what? And the way it looks is that there was millions more of us before than there is now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, the world population is meant to be like approaching 6 billion, isn't it? Well, we don't know that, do we? We're only told that they can make up any of the numbers and the figures, can't they?
So they make everything up, don't they? But Gary, you've got one more picture. Did you want to go to the other picture?
Oh yeah, we can talk a little bit about this if you want. I've got to be careful.
Just a tiny bit, but call it. I'm going to bring up. You sent me one the other day with Coco. I'll have to put the picture up.
Yeah, put that up.
1 second, Coco Pox. So we'll leave it like that. So just go Coco Pox.
Okay.
I'm ready.
You got it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, the thing is, this new thing now, that is the Coco Pops thing. It's very strange and bizarre, because years ago, this was called like supposedly, like I can say that because it's not around anymore. Smallpox. It's been completely eradicated, but now they call it that Cocoa Pops, which I don't really want to say because you might get a strike for that. And I find it quite bizarre because I was looking at the figures today on the TV and they said we've got 88 cases in this country like so far now. There's a few possibilities here. Either it's a complete fabrication and there's no one got it at all. People have got it, but it could be caused like by sort of like their Jabberwockies maybe, and living near 5G. That's a possibility. I mean, I'm not sure. Or I mean, what's the other explanation? It's a real thing, but we just don't know. I mean, unless I sort of like walk down the street and actually see someone like in these dirty big hives all over their skin, it's just...
It's the same thing as before, isn't it, though, Gary?
Do you know what I'm thinking of? You know what I'm thinking of, Karen? What it is? They're going to come out with a new raft of sort of like stickers now, a new raft of stickers, and they're going to have to turn around and say, right, to prevent you getting this, you've got to have this one and this one and this one. It's another sprat to catch a mackerel. They're putting like a carrot in front of your face because they will do. Listen, if he come on the TV tomorrow, right, and said like, oh, you got to get this new like super dose Jabberwocky sticker because like otherwise you're going to catch this Cocoa Pops is a virulent strain like of the other thing, right? People will be waiting outside the surgery, mate. I tell you, there'd be queues a mile long. There'd be queues miles long because they just believe anything they're told, whether it's reality or not. It doesn't matter. And it's very strange. Do you know? I've actually got a theory about this. I think the original set of stickers didn't work how they was planning to, and not enough people have passed. Unfortunately, I took my neighbour 2 doors away, like, has passed, but she was like in her 80s or something like that. She was a nice old girl actually, and she sent me a birthday card at Christmas, and I hadn't seen her for. When you don't see where I live, like because I'm one of the youngest here. I'm the youngest swinger in town. They're all in their sort of like 70s and 80s and 90s and all that. I haven't seen her for a while, and then I see one of the carers, and I said to her, "Oh, what's happened to so and so?" Like, and she turned around and said, "Oh, girl, she went to a care home, like, and she passed, but she was, very old. And the last time I see her, she's looking very fretful, and I feel very guilty that I sent her a Christmas card for the last 3 years, and I forgot this year, and in last Christmas it really upset me. Actually, I was quite upset. Yeah, she was a nice old girl. I don't know how old she was, like, but I know she was like probably in her 80s at least, like, because when you live in sheltered housing, Karen, you see a lot of this all the time where people are just coming and going and all that. And I remember when I first moved in here, there was a really lovely woman, and my sister said to me, "Here, look at her over there. She's lovely. There's this woman like this bob haircut and all that." And I found that she was only, I don't know, 58 or something, like, and I see her walking stick and one another, and then I asked one of the managers, I said, "What happened to that woman?" And she said, "Oh, she's passed away." And it really upset me, I thought, it's a shame. I met someone here my own age, like, and I think she had muscular dystrophy or multiple sclerosis or something. But, the rules are with sheltered housing, you have to be over 55, you have to have certain parameters, like, for you to get in there. Of course, maybe my disability, like, it was relatively easy. But yeah, but that's what I was saying. I'm getting a lot I usually do. I'm going off on a tangent, aren't I? But I was just thinking about the poor old girl a few doors down.
That's right. I put Agent Smith back on because we kind of did that one. We didn't want to talk too much about it because you never know on YouTube, do you? What's right and wrong?
The thing is, like, I think a lot of people that are going to watch this video when it comes out, right, is going to concur with what I said, because if they've been in the community as long as what we've had, Karen, they must have had their doubts. Because the thing is, it definitely is that situation. We don't know who they are. We've got our suspicions. It's probably on the top tier because...
Oh, yeah, you're back to the agents. in our community.
But the thing is, the thing is, Karen, it has to be that way, doesn't it? Because if they've infiltrated the TV, they've infiltrated the newspapers. You mean to tell me they're not going to infiltrate?
Yeah, especially
stuff
when YouTube's got its own channel now on the television, so it's quite a big platform. So yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like there probably was a time when it was literally just your tube, but. Now, I think very early on, I think it was the shape of the earth. Really, that was when people were probably put in place, like
and us noticing things weren't right.
Well, the thing
politics.
is, Karen,
you know what? I lost Unscrambled Channel, and I was talking about the what's case. I showed that wasn't right, and months later I lost the channel.
Listen, some people may watch this like in the community, and some of the people probably know me, and they're going to be furious. They're going to say, but Gal, I only do like the shape of the earth. I don't do anything else. Fine. I'm not saying all of them, but there's some of them definitely, because I've seen the ones that deny anything is going on. They deny any reality changes because it's a supernatural event. They deny that, and the thing is, when you deny something without looking into it, there's a reason behind that, because the way my brain works, Karen. Listen, my mum said to me years ago, she's blessed, God bless her soul, she said to me, you'd make a perfect detective because I can look into nitty gritty of things, because the way I work, like I was telling you, with the air conditioning unit, I had to know how it worked. There was one bit of the puzzle that I was confused about, and once the bloke told me, it was a big jigsaw puzzle that come into place. And the thing is, we've all suspected this for many years anyway. Listen, I'm not the first person that has put this out there. There's other people, but like I said, I'm not going to have people scream from the rooftops and say, oh no, but I only do that particular thing. Fine, I'm not aiming this at you. I'm aiming this at people that have been told about it. Most of them are stateside, as what be said. That it has been put to, and I'm not going to mention any names because they'll be furious. I'll never do that. But and then they just sort of like brush it under the carpet. Well, why have they brushed it under the carpet? Why has it just been brushed under the carpet when everything else that they've looked at? Oh, fine, yeah, but blah blah blah. This is all fine. This is great, and yes, we don't believe in this, we don't believe in that, and then this comes along. Why is that when there's evidence to back up? If there was no evidence, Karen, I would have dismissed this.
Well, we've been around a bit long, haven't we? And we've seen it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like I said,
even down to those two glasses. Remember, on the table, one was bigger than the other.
I think this guy's channel's called Wake Up or Else. Right now, if anyone wants to subscribe to him, Wake Up or Else. He's this guy, and he's been studying the Bible now for 40 years. I'll send it.
Well, you send me the link. Sorry, just moving my dog. I'm moving Floss closer to me because she wants to jump on.
Oh, but little Flossie.
I can put Flossie, it's Gary.
I miss little Flossie.
Yeah, she's trying to get on my chair. But I can put that. If you send me the link, Gary, I'll put it in this video.
Yeah. What I'll do, I'll send it afterwards, because this guy, right now, he's one of the first people that I don't know whether he's a pastor or not, but he's been studying the Bible for 40 years, and he's noticed the Bible changes, and I think I'll send it over to you and see what you think. And,
I'll just put. So in the description of this video, when it's playing, there'll be a link to this guy's channel. So Gary,
okay. Well, I'll send it over to you, because we all know like the main exponents of sort of like the Mandela effect, like Staveley and like loads of other people that sort of like already investigating it, but Vanessa VA and all that. But this guy, he's I don't know whether he's new on the scene, but he's like to me, if you watch that, if anyone watches that who's into the shape of the earth and they still turn around and say no, it's all rubbish, then you've got to ask yourself questions why. That's what I'm just saying. Listen, I'm not saying everyone in our community is like that. They're just investigating.
I'm with you, Gary.
Sorry?
I'm with you, but I've just kept quiet. I've showed you my little video.
Well, the thing is, I think it was time for me to chirp up because a couple of people have already, and it's one of, he probably won't mind me saying it like, if he watches this. Staveley talks about it all the time, how Mandela effect deniers, why when there's so much evidence now, there's a reason behind it, and you know, he hasn't probably said the things because I couldn't care less. They can come around here, you know, I'll give them my address. Someone phoned me up and said, "You got to stop doing." Cat knows what I'm like. I'll give them my address and my phone number. I said, "Come round here, mate. Do your best." You know, don't bother me anymore, Karen. I weren't expecting to see like 62. So every year now is a bonus to me, and I just put it out there, you know. So.
Oh, Gary, I love you.
I love you too, and I think with that. I think we'll call it like a show. Eh?
On the I love you.
I love you, and I will see you very soon. I've got a few holidays coming up, but I will see you at some future point.
Well, that's okay. So we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. Do you think that's enough to get people to?
Is it 1 hour and 15 minutes?
And 12 seconds and 15 seconds. Do you want me to stop it?
Yeah, well, you know something. Sometimes it's good not to have it too long, isn't it? Because you know sometimes it can get a bit repetitive.
No, you said a lot as well, Gary.
Well, I don't stop talking, do I?
Well, I'd like to say thank you very much for doing this hangout with me, and thank you for all the things that you.
And I want you know, I want all the people, like when they listen to this, to hear about what I say and think very carefully. Because everything is going to be infiltrated. Because they're not. Do you think for one tiny moment like they're going to infiltrate everything else and then say, oh no, we'll let them have that. It don't really matter. All these people are nutcases anyway. No one to believe them because it's growing exponentially.
There is one person who's been calling people out. Russian Vids has been calling people out.
Yes, that's right. And he won't mind us mentioning him, will he? Because I mean, I haven't actually spoke to him. But do you remember, like when I was down yours, he does know about me because you emailed him or something like.
Oh, I messaged him on Skype.
Gary said hello and all that, and he said hello back to Gary and all that. But I've never actually spoken to him. But yes, he's been calling people out. He's been calling people out as well. He's another one. I forgot about him. So you know, there's people now that are calling other people out, and like you know. We're all spotting it, kid. We're all spotting it. I mean, it's obvious. It's to me. I've known it for quite a long time, but now it's coming to a head because the reality changes are the one that's sort of like.
I bet you it's all to do with money. Once they see the ching, they're bought.
It's not just money. It's not just money. If they got handlers and controllers, Karen, they're not allowed to speak about it. They're not allowed to speak about it. They're told, look, you can do that, you can do this, you can do the other, but you're not allowed to do this. I mean, I don't. That's probably what it is. You know, they're not allowed to talk about it because it's like it's not the part of their remit. Because when enough people become awake to that, they're going to say, "Oh my God, we're very powerful beings." You know, we know the shape of the earth is wrong and all that.
We are coming together slowly, but just I thought, you know, for me it's been 6 years. And but finding so many lies.
It's time now that all the top people in the truth community looked at this as a very serious subject. And
well, we nearly lost John Smith.
Sorry?
Do you remember John Smith? We nearly lost him through things.
Exactly. And I'm so pleased. Like you know, he's.
I talk to him sometimes. I love him.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen him since like the Hyde Park days. But,
no, my friendship with him was kind of ruined. Not me, just what's going on around him. And anyway, but that's another story.
Anyway, for another day, yeah.
But Gary, thank you so much for your mind. I don't think you really. If you can work out their system in the place where you're doing your gym, you're probably. I don't think you realise how clever you are.
Well, yeah, because I do like to keep learning more and more things. That little boy, a 9-year-old, seeing the moon landing doesn't come out of me, and it's just on different things now.
Yeah. Anyway, much love to you. Thank you very much. Don't go, Gary, but thank you very much. I mean, we're going on the video, but we'll say goodbye afterwards. But thank you so much for making this video. It's all a matrix, and Gary's just tried to explain some of it.
Lovely, and there's a lot. Watch out for the Agent Smiths out there, folks.
And this hangout's going to be called, what was it again? Agentruther, but with one T.
Agentruther. Agentruther is going to be called.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Much love. Love you lots.
Lovely.
And thank you, chat room.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary?
Wonderful. Yeah, all done.
Thank you, my darling.
Lovely. We haven't done one for a while, have we? So I thought it was time, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going now. We can talk in a second, but we're going for the hangout. Thank you very much. Mwah!